I thought I would be able to create a message for you today the same way I create my annual reports at the end of every church year. I go back to September and I reread the weekly church-wide emails week by week, jotting down notes as I go, and remembering the year, remembering the events and the small groups, the milestones and the sorrows, the holidays, whatever funny characters or animals or superheroes showed up at the paper bag nativity pageant that year. I remember the words you spoke in September when you poured your summer water into the common bowl, the people we were praying for, the challenges, which you've probably figured out I word in the weekly email as gentle reminders. So I figured I could approach today the same way, just do it year by year instead of week by week. And that after reading 25 years of my annual reports, I would have a pretty good sense of the ministry we've done together in the last quarter century. Annie McGinty actually gave me the idea because when she was going through her files at home recently, she found a paper copy of my first annual report to you, which I read at my first annual meeting here on May 6, 2001. That report was 2 pages long. I'm sad to say I have gotten more verbose as the years have gone by. In that first report, I told you I had attended, at a conservative estimate, 100 meetings that year. I had written about 2,500 emails, and I had gained 8 pounds, for which I held you responsible because of the food, everywhere the food. And I can say with certainty that all of these things have continued to trend upwards. So, I started with this year's annual report, written just 2 weeks ago, and I began working my way backwards, because I figured it would be harder to find the earliest ones, because I'm on like my 5th computer now. And I got here in the days of desktop computers when we used those hard square computer disks to store our files. No Google Docs. Clouds were something in the sky. So by the year 2018, I was drowning in pages of notes, and I remembered something kind of important about myself, which is that I don't love looking back. What we have done holds less interest for me than what we are doing now. So I confess to you, I started skimming the reports and just looking for the words I used the most, not one of which will be surprising to you. Love, humor, compassion, gratitude, generosity, serving others, and more recently, the words resilience, flexibility, grace. Also the words busy, full, and the phrase, we did a lot. Those 3 appeared every year without fail. And it turns out my hopes for this congregation have been quite consistent since I got here. How do we reach outside the walls of the church more often? How do we take care of each other better? Can we stretch ourselves just a little bit more? Become just a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more grateful, a little bit more generous. The challenges, they've been consistent too. As we have done more, we have also needed more money, despite raising increasing amounts of it almost every year, as you heard. Our expenses have gone up faster than our giving, and every year I remind you, albeit in slightly different words, that there is no one here but us. And so we need more engagement of more people to make all of this go. And yet we do make it go imperfectly and beautifully year after year. Now, most of you were not here yet when I arrived, but some of you have been here far longer than I and have journeyed this whole road with me, and it is so sweet to see many of you here this morning. So if you were here in August of 2000, will you rise or wave? So many of you. Thank you, my old friends. We have traveled a long way together. For those who were not here yet, I will tell you a little bit about what this congregation was like 25 years ago, at least as I remember it. So there were about 80 adults in the sanctuary on Sunday mornings and just a handful of young children, though many more were soon to come. And there were a lot of youth when I got here. There was both a junior and a senior youth group with incredibly dedicated volunteers. Sean had been here 5 years already. The choir was strong. His hair was red. Note that mine still is. Not without a little bit of assistance. The Women's Alliance met monthly, and the men's group held a big dinner every year, which I think involved lobsters. I don't know if I'm remembering that correctly. No. So when I arrived, I was told to please not comment on the height of the pew walls, since it was a historical architectural mistake, and 200 years later, we were still sensitive about it. I broke that rule pretty much right away. And the lists of the ministers' names and their dates of service on the sanctuary walls tell this story. But when I got here, the congregation had not had a minister stay longer than 5 years in the 25 years before that. Not since Andrew Rosenberger retired in 1979 after a 16-year ministry. Andrew had been named Minister Emeritus. He was beloved, especially among the elders whose minister he had been during those years. And several of those same elders were in the habit of writing up petitions when they were dissatisfied with the current minister. And as I heard the story, they would very strongly urge members of the congregation to sign these petitions and then present them to the board as proof that the congregation was unhappy. And the minister would invariably see the writing on the wall and resign. Unitarian Universalism was changing in those years. It was moving dramatically and quickly away from the Christianity of its roots. The newer, younger people coming in wanted to explore Buddhism and yoga and spirituality, and the elders were bereft. They felt like they were losing something very precious. And the ministers were caught in the middle. And it was a divisive time here. What made the difference for me was good timing, good luck, and Reverend Charles Gaines. Good timing in that those who were most bitterly resistant to change were no longer here when I arrived. Good luck in that Reverend Rosenberger decided before I even got here that he was going to be my biggest supporter. And he and his wife, Billy, were so wonderful to me. And I had Charles as my immediate predecessor. Charles was what we would call today a developmental minister. He was at the end of his career, and when he met with the church leaders about coming to First Parish, he told them, "I will teach you everything I have learned in 40 years of ministry, and I will help you change. But you have to learn what I am teaching, and you have to take what I am offering." And in their wisdom, the leaders said yes, and even more importantly, they meant it. Charles stayed for 4 years, and he helped you to find your center again. He helped you remember how to do some things. He taught you some new ones. He helped you take some big risks, such as deciding to build the East Wing addition with an elevator so that people could get into the sanctuary. I also think Charles helped you envision a future in which the congregation could grow and thrive and then take a chance on a young, though not brand new, minister who represented a lot of firsts. Now, I was not the first woman to serve as a minister here. Dot Kimball was, though her tenure was brief. But I was married to a woman at the time, so I was definitely your first lesbian minister. And at the time, this was a big deal. And I know it felt like a brave step. The congregation was not even yet a UUA designated welcoming congregation, though that happened within a couple of years of my arrival. And then within a couple more years, I was hugely pregnant and gave birth to twins, certainly a first, as was my divorce 11 years later, and then remarriage to someone who made me no longer a lesbian. And by that time, it actually felt like a loss to some of you. My children grew up in this community, and in so many ways, I did too. And two of the happiest days of my life happened while I was minister here, the birth of my children and my marriage to Alan, which was right in this room with so many of you present. We know that ministers shape the congregations they serve, but congregations shape their ministers too. We make and remake each other over time. And I suspect that we reflect each other's strengths and some of each other's challenges as well. There are things that we have not been able to do together. There are ways I have not been able to lead you well. There are a few places I hoped we might go where you were definitely not interested in going with me. We never did get that First Parish bus painted with the saying, "The church has left the building." We never opened the storefront church and meal program in air I once dreamed of. Maybe there is time yet, but I have grown more comfortable with the fact that we simply will not be able to do everything. We have excelled in trust and love, and we have learned well the lesson that where there is trust and love, so many mistakes and messes and misunderstandings can be survived and overcome. For me, there has been such beauty in staying. There is beauty in growing older together. There is beauty in seeing with my own eyes how you age with such grace, how you keep changing and transforming and becoming. And as I said in my annual report this year, I have officiated at 127 memorial services in my time so far as your minister. And there has been such deep beauty in each one of those, along with the profound sadness of saying goodbye to so many people I have loved. And now when people ask if I will do their memorial service, I say that I would be honored, but I have to add, as long as you die before I do. And of course, there are the children, and getting to be a part of their lives as they grow up. I'm looking at Abby right now and Avery. I have no words for this, other than to say it is one of the greatest gifts of my life. Someone asked me recently what I'm proud of. A lot. I'm very proud of the 4 Unitarian Universalist ministers we have helped to launch here. We home grew 2 of them, Reverend Aaron Stockwell and Nate Clark, who's graduating from Divinity School this coming week. And we trained up 2, Reverend Karen Johnston and Lee Kinvey. I am so proud of all of our children who have grown up here and are out doing their work in the world. I am especially proud of the one who struggle with challenges that others don't see. I'm proud of the way we live out our mission to deepen spiritually and take care of one another and be a blessing to this world, which is always a work in progress, or our young adult version of the mission, try not to be a jerk. We will help. But mostly, I am proud of your kindness. I'm proud of the way that you welcome strangers and weave them into this strong and sturdy web of love. In 2020, my annual report covered 2 years. Because of the pandemic, we didn't have an annual meeting in the spring of 2020. And I wrote in my report that year, I wrote my report in the form of 44 things First Parish did to thrive during pandemic time. And it was a pretty breathtaking list. And I ended it with these words, which feel like a good summary of the last quarter century. I wrote, "We have learned our sanctuary is not contained by walls, and the congregation encompasses anyone who wants to belong. It is clear to me that our congregation has held. We have held sorrow and loss, and fear and change. We have also held joy and beauty, and we have helped each other come through together." So in closing, I actually want to read to you something I wrote 5 years ago for the weekly column that the UUA puts out called Braver, Wiser. Some of you have read this. I want to read it to you because it says everything about who you are. So this is called Assisted Living Devices. In the church I serve, we have a Sunday morning worship leader who welcomes everyone at the start of the service. They give the necessary announcements, including telling the congregation that large print orders of service and assisted listening devices are available from the ushers. On the best Sundays, which don't happen as often as I wish, the worship leader mistakenly says that assisted living devices are available from the ushers. I'm always secretly rooting for this mistake because it makes everyone laugh, and also because it would be so excellent if the ushers really had assisted living devices to give out. I would raise my hand for one every time. I know I'm not alone. A lot of us feel like our lives should have come with instructions, or maybe they did, but we lost the only copy a long time ago. 7 years ago, I left my marriage of over 2 decades. We had 2 young children at the time. During the day, I could mostly live with the weight of my decision. But at night, the voices of my fear and guilt were relentless. Had I chosen my own happiness over my children's, would this become a terrible turning point in their lives, the moment when they lost faith in stability and in promises made and kept? I prayed for operating instructions, for some sign we would all get through this. I let them have too much screen time. As I juggled ministry and motherhood, I was raggedly determined, driving around in a borrowed truck to collect Craigslist furniture and writing sermons in the middle of the night. A few months in, an older woman in the congregation visited me. I left my marriage with young children to raise, she told me, and I still remember how tired I was. You need to let us help you. I started to protest, and she stopped me. We know you are fine, she said quietly, fiercely and kindly, and you still need to let us help you. Luckily, I realized this was the sign. Kindness offered from someone who has traveled our particular hard road before us is always the sign. So I let them help me. Members of the congregation came with paintbrushes and scrub brushes and donated pots and kitchen utensils, some of which looked suspiciously new. They put together my children's beds and painted the walls of our new apartment. I was undone by their tenderness, and I was healed by it. None of us have a map. We're all just making the way as we go. But we can help each other get through. There really are assisted living devices. They are us. We have each other.